Shabbat Shalom. So far, it is a beautiful day out. May it stay that way for us, certainly through services. We're delighted that all of you are with us. Thank you for posting a comment. We do actually see them. So say Shabbat Shalom. Let us know that you are here. We wish we could say Shabbat Shalom to each of you back individually, but know that we are glad that we are together as a community. Indeed, how good it is that we are all able to be here together. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael. Sovereign of the universe, with divine wisdom you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware we would lack the strength to stand in life before you. Blessed are you, Eternal One, source of our health and strength.
Baruch atah Adonai rofech kol basar umafli la'asod. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'sech bina le'achim ben yom uben layla.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matid asurim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Zokef kefufim.
Amen. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam rokah haaretz al hamayim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaver.
Amen. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam malbish shalomim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten layayef koach.
Amen. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam hamavi she'ena meina yutu ma'ameh hapapai.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani b'tzelem Elohim.
Amen. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam shasani ben chorim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani Yisrael.
Amen. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael bikurai.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifaraha.
Amen. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitzanu b'mitzvot v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen. Adonai, our God, make the words of your Torah sweet to us, and to the house of Israel, your people, that we and our children may be lovers of your name and students of your Torah. We praise you, O God, teacher of Torah to our people Israel.
Baruch atah המלמד תורה לעמו ישראל. אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור, 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 אלו
things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study, morning and evening, being gracious with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. The Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, but the study of Torah encompasses them all.
Baruch she'amar v'haya olam. Baruch hu, Baruch oseh pereishi, Baruch omer ve'oseh. Baruch oseh u'mekayem, Baruch merachem al haaretz, Baruch merachem al habriyot, Baruch meshalem zachareto mireha, Baruch hayra lekem le'esach, Baruch odem asil, Baruch shemo. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר שמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר שמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך מרדות, עלי עשור ועלי נבר, עלי היגיון בחינום. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך מרדות, עלי עשור ועלי נבר, עלי היגיון בחינום. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר שמך עליון. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. כל הנשמה
תהללה,
הללויה, הללויה, כל הנשמה תהללה, הללויה, 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 Ikada shemeba Elma vibra pirute Ve'amik malhute Chaye chomru yomeho Uchaye lechol beit Yisrael Agala Bagala U'imantari Ve'imelu
Amen.
Ye'esh ve'avat mevora Le'olam lo me'oraya
Yitbarach.
Yitbarach ve'yishtabach Ve'poal ve'tromam ve'tnaseh Ve'yitala ve'yitala Shem melech udeshah Leila kol birchata v'shirata
Tusnechatam v'nechemata Damiram ve'ala.
Eimelu
Amen.
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
In the beginning, even then a new light was sown for righteousness, a promise that your light would become the catalyst, first for order and then for hope. God, author of language and light, help us to use words as you have, to cast light into dark waters and draw out justice and truth.
אור חדש על ציון תאים, ונזכה כולנו מנה לאורו, ברוך אתה אדוני, יוצא המאורות. ואבינו לשלום וכנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו כמיעוטי ארצנו, כפועל ישועתה. ובאנו בחרת וקראתנו לשמחה גדול, סלע ומדרדותיך לחיקך ובאהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר עמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל, אדוני Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, וחיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem l'Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem.
Adonai Elohechem, amen.
שירו גאולי, לשמך שפת הים יחד כולם, גדולים דיחו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם. יאי בבים דיליבי יבבי בבים בם, יאי בבים דיליבי יבבי בבים בם, יאי גלי 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 יבבי בבים.
ישראל, ומבשרת ישראל, ובדקנו מחיר בישראל, בואו עלינו העצות שמו קדוש ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Rise for tefillah.
Adonai חיינו מפינו לא ימות לעולם בהל, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
ואיתנו מטובך שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא רצית בו וקידוש לו שבת, אין דיין אם אותו קראת שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת, זכר למעשה בראשית.
The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week, we live under the tyranny of things of space. On Shabbat, we try to become attuned to the holiness in time. It is a day on which we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world.
Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat.
On this Shabbat day, as you graciously receive our prayers, help us to hear your call. Grant us enough health to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to others. Teach us humility that we may perceive our own faults, and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves and the charity to see the best in those around us. Give us patience enough not to become discouraged, hope enough to overcome all fears for the future, and faith enough to know your presence. O source of blessing, look with favor upon us. May our offerings be acceptable to you. We praise you, Adonai, whom alone we serve in reverence.
Baruch atah Adonai shotcha levatcha bein avot modim anachnu lach.
Modim anachnu lach, to you we give thanks. Giver of life and all good gifts, grant us also wisdom to use only what we need, courage to trust your bounty, imagination to preserve our resources, determination to deny frivolous excess, and inspiration to sustain through temptation.
Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha ulecha nai lehodot. Sim shalom טובה וברכה, הן בחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עמך הוא, עמך, ברכנו יוצאנו כולנו כאחד. ברכנו יוצאנו באור פניך. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, הן בחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עמך הוא, עמך, באור פניך נתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, תורת חיים ואהבת חסד, ואהבת חסד וצדקה וברכה, ורחמים וחיים ושלום. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, הן בחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עמך הוא, עמך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
Take a moment for silent personal prayer.
עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן.
Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel Ve'imru
Continue with Seder Kriyat Torah service for reading Torah.
אין כמוך ואלוהים אדוני ואין כמעשיך מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור אדוני מלך Adonai Malach Adonai Imlok Le'olam Va'ed Adonai Osle Amo Yitem Adonai Yivarech Et Amo B'Shalom
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And may I say, I am seeing some people that I haven't seen in a while on. It's nice to have you. I won't call you out because that would suggest that you weren't here, but consider yourself noticed, and it's really nice. And if you haven't said Shabbat Shalom, and that means I can't know that you are here, so feel free. Feel free to wish a Shabbat Shalom. So, shameless plug for Shabbat Torah study every Saturday on our Zoom channel. You don't even have to get out of your house, but you can come and join us for Torah study. And this morning, right here, I taught about a couple of verses that I think you will be markedly familiar with. In fact, so familiar that we did them just a little bit ago. This week's Torah portion, Va'et Hanan, is not the first, but the second portion in the book of Deuteronomy. And it is the portion where we read the words of Shema. And we just did Shema as we were taking the Torah out, and just a little while ago we did Shema as part of our service. And then it continues on. That's Deuteronomy 6, chapter 6, verse 4, and then it goes on with words that we also did earlier. Ve'ahavta Adonai Elohecha, and you shall love the Lord your God. And again, something that we are familiar with. We spent some time this morning talking about the idea of loving God. And what does it mean to love God? What is the quality of loving God? And I suggested to our participants that there were three options that were being made available to us by Jewish tradition. There was the emotional experience that love of God is a feeling. Love of God is a feeling. And that when we love God, we have a longing for God. We have a deep desire to connect to God and to be in God's presence, similar to the love of a husband and wife. That we have a desire to do things for. And that just that desire is an emotional experience. So that's one option, that loving God is an emotional experience. The second one, a little more challenging, was the idea that loving God was a cognitive experience. That when we show love for God, we try to know God. We try to understand God. And when we are thinking about God, that in and of itself is an expression of love. That I can feel something towards somebody, I can act, but to try and understand that other, that person, that other person, that is and can be an act of love. And then the third option is some sort of demonstrative action. Actions rather than thoughts or emotions lie at the heart of love. And in this case, all we have to do is go back to that idea of the love between a husband and a wife. And when we do things that they ask us to do, then we are demonstrating love. To love God is to be loyal to what God asks us to do, i.e. the mitzvot. Okay? When we are willing to sacrifice of ourselves for God, when we show gratitude for God, when we thank God for things. Those are all demonstrative actions that express love. But the question that we didn't get to at this moment or earlier today was the question of whether that love, ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, and you shall love the Lord your God. Okay? That's a commandment. But can loving be commanded? And there I just want to share a couple of thoughts. Okay? We look at those three options for what loving God means, and they answer to our question of whether that loving God can be commanded is going to be different. So if we think about love as an emotional experience, it's very hard. You can't command somebody to feel something. You can put things into place that might cause that person, but it is hard to be able to think about loving God as a commandment if that loving is purely an emotional experience. That's not to say that the commentators who suggested that loving God was an emotional experience didn't think of this as a command, but rather the command they saw that one could be demanded to do certain things, to study God's ways, to keep God's commandments, and that this would lead to a sense of love. Now, one could also suggest that the verb ve'ahavta is not a command at all, but rather a promise that once one attains the knowledge of God and God's oneness, i.e. verse 4, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, that love will inevitably follow. So maybe it's not a command. Right? Or what if you thought about the love of God as being something, a cognitive experience? Since love, in this case, is an intellectual process, an intellectual exercise, then of course it can be demanded of a person. Okay? I can be demanded to think about a particular thing. I may choose not to, right? But I can be demanded to think about something. That's an action. And then, of course, if we think about loving God as demonstrative actions, then this is most definitively something that we can act, that we can be commanded. Okay? That the obligation of loving God is an obligation of obeying God, and thus is action-based. And so I can be told to do. I certainly, if that action is an expression of gratitude, I can be commanded to express that gratitude. I can't be commanded to feel that gratitude. So in this case, when we think about loving God, there are lots of options. Not any one of us has to choose any one. I gave the Torah study people those three options of an emotional experience, a cognitive experience, or a demonstrative experience, and I forced them into one, but we came quickly to the realization that all three of those are part of the whole of loving God. That there is something that we feel in our hearts, there is something that we understand in our mind, and there is something to loving God that is in the actions of our hands. With that, we are going to read our Torah portion. We'll light the cantor up, and he'll lead us in Torah reading. Let's get ourselves set here. Okay.
Yeah. So we are going to read a section that includes the Aseret Hadibrot, the Ten Commandments. So if you want, you can join me in the blessing before Torah reading. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Borach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. ויקרא משה אל כל ישראל, ויאמר עליכם, שמע ישראל את החוקים ואת המשפטים, אשר אנוכי דיבר באוזניכם היום, ולימדתם אותם ושמרתם לעשותם. אדוני אלוהינו כורת עמנו ברית בחורב, לא את אבותינו כרת אדוני את הברית בסוף, כי איתנו אדוני אלה פה, היום כולנו חיים, פנים בפנים. דיבר אדוני עמכם בהר מתוך האש, אנוכי מת בין אדוני ביניכם בעת ההיא, להגיד לכם את דבר אדוני, כי יראתם מפני האש ולהיתם בהר לאמור. I will invite everyone to stand for the Aseret Hadibrot. אנוכי אדוני אלוהיך, אשר הוצאתיך מארץ מצרים, מבית עבדים. לא יהיה לך אלוהים אחרים על פניי, לא תעשה לך פסל בכל תמונה אשר בשמיים עמך, ואשר בארץ מתחת, ואשר במים מתחת לארץ. לא תשתחווה לכם ולא תעבדן, כי אנוכי אדוני אלוהיך אלקנה פוקד עוון אבות על בנים ועל שילשים ועל רבעים לשונאי, ועושה חסד לאלפים, לאהבי לשומרי מצוותיי. לא תישא את שם אדוני אלוהיך לשווא, כי לא ינקה אדוני את אשר יישא את שמו לשווא. שמור את יום השבת לקדשו, כאשר ציווך אדוני אלוהיך. 6 ימים תעבוד ועשית כל מלאכתך, ויום השביעי שבת לאדוני אלוהיך. לא תעשה כל מלאכה אתה ובנך וביתך ועבדך ואמתך ושורך וחמורך וכל בהמתך וגרך אשר בשעריך, למען ינוח עבדך, ואמתך כמוך, וזכרת כי עבדת בארץ מצרים, יוציאך אדוני אלוהיך משם, וחזקה ובשרה נטויה. על כן נציבך אדוני אלוהיך לעשות את יום השבת, כבד את אביך ואת אמך, כאשר ציווך אדוני אלוהיך, למען יאריכון ימיך, ולמען ייטב לך על האדמה, אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לך. לא תרצח, ולא תנח, ולא תגנוב, ולא תענה ברכה על השאר, ולא תחמוד אשת רעך, ולא תתאווה ברעך שדהו, ועבדו ואמתו ושורו וחמורו, וכל אשר לרעך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן.
וזאת התורה ששם משה לפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני ויבושם. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני ביד משה.
Squeaky here. Before we continue with the Haftarah, we think about those of our friends and neighbors, members of our community who are in need of God's blessing of healing. On the Shabbat, we are thinking about Audrey Aronchik, Deanna Aronchik, Charles Barna, Francine Barna, Baruch Ben Sion, Ben Bracha Chaya, Nathan Braun, Sam Brenner, Leslie Center, Elliot Citron, Helen Fagan, Marion Gordon, Dennis Greenwald, Deborah Hartman, Luis Hernandez, Peter Herrera, Susan Jones, George and Dee Leader, Benjamin Lechner, Jack Lee, Judy Levy, Jack Malfi, Kaduri Ben Yaakov, Shaul, Leah Bat Margalit, Shammai Ben Michael, Miriam Bat Meir, Robert Parker, Roberta Weinberg Patek, Shaul Ben Moshe Verivka, Ingrid Roskin, Janet Schneider, Lillian Stein, Kevin Webb, Iris Weingarten, Sid Wiesel, Dov Ben Yonah. We ask God's blessing upon them. Mishaberach Avatenu Abraham Yitzhak Yaakov Imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel B'Leah Hu Yivarech V'Yirapeh Et Kolim Kodesh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachamim Aleichem L'Hachli Mam L'Rapotam L'Hachzikam L'Hachiotam V'Yishlach B'Mheira Refuah Shlema Refuat Nefesh urefuat aguf b'tochshar chol Israel. Ashtav agalav izman kariv and omar. And we say, Amen. The Haftarah for this week, well, for those of you who were with me last night, with us last night, I talked about the fact that this is a special Torah. This is a special Shabbat. It's called Shabbat Nachamu. The name of the Torah just not getting it today. The name of the Shabbat comes from the first, not first word, not just the first word, but the first and the second word happens to be Nachamu. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami. It's repeated twice, that's why first and second word. And Shabbat Nachamu is the Shabbat of comfort. Comes after the commemoration of Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av, and it brings us to 7 weeks. It starts us on 7 weeks of Haftarot, all coming from the book of Isaiah, and all meant to be a comfort to us as after we experience the challenges of the destructions of the temple. And I think that certainly now, as I said last night, that we could all use some comfort now, and hopefully that these will bring comfort and that God will bring comfort to us. If you'd like to follow or read along with Cantor, chanting the Haftarah blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'yamim tovim ורצה בדבריכם הנאמרים באמת. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בתורה במשה וטוב ישראל עמו מנביאי האמת והצדק. נחמו נחמו עמי יאמר אלוהיכם דברו אל לב ירושלים וקראו אליך כי מלאך ציווה כי נרצה עוונה כי לקחה מיד אדוני כפליים בכל חטאותיך כל קורא במדבר אנו דרך אדוני ישרו בערבה מישראל אלוהינו.
Comfort, O comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and declare to her that her term of service is over, that her iniquity is expiated, for she has received at the hand of the Lord double for all her sins. So Isaiah is personifying Jerusalem as one who is in need of comfort, who has been punished, and now hopefully is coming out of that. A voice rings out, clear in the desert, a road for the Lord, level in the wilderness, a highway for our God. Let every valley be raised, every hill and mount made low. Let the rugged ground become level, and the ridges become a plain. The presence of the Lord shall appear, and all flesh as one shall behold, for the Lord himself has spoken. We skip to the end, where God continues. Do you not know? Have you not heard? Have you not been told from the very first? Have you not discerned how the earth was founded? It is he who is enthroned above the vault of the earth, so that its inhabitants seem like grasshoppers, who spread out the skies like gauze, stretch them out like a tent to dwell in. He brings potentates to naught, makes rulers of the earth as nothing. Hardly are they planted, hardly are they sown, hardly has their stem taken root in earth, when he blows upon them and they dry up, and the storm bears them off like straw. To whom then can you liken me? To whom can I be compared, says the Holy One? Lift high your eyes and see. Who created these? He who sends out their host by count, who calls them each by name. Because of his great and mighty power, none fails to appear. God reminds the people that even though they have been punished, that just as God has punished them, so God has the capacity to bring them back.
Very hard to see. Sorry. אבל ניתהו כל זרע בשורש בארץ גזעם וגם נעשה בהם יבשו ושערה קקשת ישראל העמיד דמיוני ואשבה יאמר קדוש זהו מרום עיניכם וראו מברא אלה המוציא במספר צבאם וכולם בשם יקרא מרבונים ומיץ כוח איש לא נדע ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם צור כל עמים צדיק בכל הדורות הנאמן אומר ועושה המדבר ומקיים שכל דבריו אמת וצדק על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ויום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמנוחה לכבוד ולתפארת על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen. We turn back to we turn to returning the Torah to the Ark.
Aleinu nishameh Adon Hakol Aten Gedula Ve'oseh Bereishit Lo Asanu Kegoyei Aratzot Velo Samanu Kemishpechot Ha'adama Velo Sam Kekeinu Ba'em Ekol Aleinu Ekol Amrona Va'anahu Korim Umishtachavim Umodim Mifnei Melech Malkei Amlachim Hakadosh Baruch Hu ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ היום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
We turn our hearts to those who are no longer with us, those we keep in our minds and in our hearts. We remember these who have died over the past 30 days, for whom we are observing Shloshim: Carolyn DeCoveney, Bernice Glickman, Natalie Rieger, Marilyn Newall. Remember these whose yortzites, the anniversary of their passing, we commemorate this week: Milton Agron, Nathaniel Ambers, Kim Erica Auerbach, Mona Azrakan, Fanny Bauman, Bert Bergen, Gussie Book, Chester H. Borup, Celia Y. Cohen, Harris Cohn, Leon E. Cohn, Marcel Dreyfus, Rebecca Ertag, Beth Eddington, Ruth Bader, Robert Feingold, Hilda Fox, Irene R. Frank, Edward Franco, Brett Friedland, Benjamin Gartenhouse, Gussie Goldberg, Nathan Gordon, Paul Grossman, Rose R. Heller, Abraham Hodes, Samuel Hyman, Ann C. Jacobs, Wesley Philip Jones, Irving E. Kaplan, Augusta Katzman, Marshall Katzman, Florence B. Kestenbaum, Bernard Kornblum, Isidore Lubinsky, Dorothy Krause-Ledwitz, Irving M. Leopold, Helen Levine, Sidney Lipman, Benjamin Martinique, Sidney Miller, Isaac Matrani, Philip I. Moriber, Ida Newmark, Milton V. Olkin, Lena Parrish, Faye Perry, Herman Press, Samuel L. Resnick, Gilda Rose, Rita Sachs, Sylvia Schuler, Beatrice Siegel, Morris Silverman, Elsie Simon, Cynthia Sirra, Abraham Streichler, Irene Tabb, Francis Ullman, Jack Zemet. We join together for Kaddish Yatom Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'amad yivrach rutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agalav v'zman kariv v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei Shemei Rabbah mavarach le'olam olmei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishkavach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. Yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Kudashah. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav. U'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
The source of peace, and peace to all who mourn, comfort to all who are bereaved. Together we say, Amen. Once again, I want to wish all of you a Shabbat Shalom. Say a special thank you to all of our service sponsors, Judy Agron, Karen Norman Leopold, and Lynn Turry, in memory of their father and father-in-law, Irving. Thank you, Mark and Sandy Joe. We thank you for your ongoing commitment to Temple Sinai. Susan Jones, in memory of Wes, we certainly remember him. Gary and Carol Moss, looking forward to wishing you another happy anniversary, which I believe is tomorrow. A happy anniversary, many, many more. And thank you, Ann Zartler, in honor of Teddy's 50th birthday. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, join us for the 5th of our 6-part series, Scholars in Their Residence. We get to enjoy a local scholar, Rabbi Jeffrey Salkin, who's going to be talking about brokenness using the great Canadian/American bard Leonard Cohen. I'm sure you will enjoy. Just encourage all of you to join us for all of the opportunities for us to learn and grow throughout the week. We are going to conclude, not surprisingly, with the words of our Haftarah, the words Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami.
And let's hope this weekend that Isaiah, comes very mild, so we hope that these are the words. This is what is going to happen in our life for this weekend: comfort and not hurricane.
Yeah. I'm all for it.
Ami, Yamarenu
Ami Yamarenu Heitem Nahamu Nahamu Ami Yamar Elohim comfort us in our wilderness, comfort us as we struggle to take care of one another, comfort us in our wilderness, comfort us as we struggle with this world. Amun, Amun, Amin, Yamar Elohim, Amun, Amin, Yamar Elohim. Comfort us in our wilderness, comfort us as we struggle to take care of one another, comfort us in our wilderness, comfort us as we struggle with this world. Nahamu, Nahamu, Amin, Yamar Elohim, Nahamu, Nahamu, Amin, Yamar Elohim.
Join together for Vishamru, Kiddush, and Motzi.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. והניבם בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. זכור את יום השבת לקדשו, remember the Shabbat and sanctify it. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom.